Good morning. This is July the 11th. I look at my watch because I kind of lose track of time sometimes. I hope my microphones are working. The green lights are on. Okay, so we'll get started here. So get you something to drink. I don't have anything this morning because it's later in the day. It is now 2 o'clock. It's afternoon. And we have had a good time already. James and I went out and found that fabulous hat that lady wore to the Oaks a few for $2, and I'm going to wear it one of these days. My nose is itching. Things are going on. So we had a good time, and so we went out to Borden, Indiana, and had breakfast this morning at the Buckboard Café, a restaurant. They have the best breakfast you can imagine. But see, I told James, I said all I wanted to do was go down to White Castle and get me a chicken sandwich. Those crispy chicken sandwiches are good. But I ended up having gravy and biscuit and potatoes and some steak, fried steak for breakfast. So this morning, Friday, July the 11th, 2025, this Bible verse, 1620 Proverbs. Whoever gives heed to instruction prospers. So listen and learn. And blessed is he who trusts in the Lord. And it shows the importance of wisdom and faith and working through life as we go. Trust in the Lord. So this morning I was checking out some of my girlfriends, like Debbie. She is going great guns. And it was so funny. She said, I am now famous. I'm going to have to start signing autographs. And I told her maybe she needs an auto pen. They work real good. Of course, I don't need one. I can sign, but I'm not getting that many requests. Maybe it'll happen yet. Who knows? But so we went out there and had breakfast, and we had a couple of yard sales, and then the weather got hot. It got hot fast today. So I came home. He said, I want to go down to the Methodist uh, thrift store. And I said, drop me off at the house. I'm already overcome with the heat. I don't you love that weeping willow? That is so gorgeous. And look, there's a stove right behind us. I love these beautiful scenes that we get, and I like that one I got up on hanging on the wall. And so I just set up back out here in my other room, and it don't look too bad. And I got this. Isn't this pretty? This is a real lightweight type thing that goes down past your rear, and it's cool. And you wear a little black shirt under it, and it looks pretty for a grandma. Grandmas need to be grandmas. So I was watching Debbie this morning, and I checked in on Senior Insights, and I had requested that maybe she could get louder somehow or other. And I'm not just going to quit her because I can't hear her all the time, but I just turn on closed captioning and watch her. But this morning she was going to have a live, and so she was there, and I looked, and all of a sudden, in about 1 minute, it was gone. She said, I don't think it, and I could hear her great. And everybody said, or some of them said, it's just mechanical failures, and we all have them at times. And that's a fact, Jack. So so she must try again. But I want to tell y'all something. I am not fooling with doing any more live videos. I'm going to do them where I can sit down because, I don't have time to say, I don't know. I lose track of what I'm trying to talk about if I have to say hello there, hello to you, hello to you. It's too distracting. I think I might have a two-track mind, but I can't I can't handle that. So I'm not going to be doing it. I'll just stick if it's not broke, don't fix it. And this ain't broke. So I'm going to keep on doing like I'm doing, and I got my microphones and you can hear me, and I got my hearing aids turned off. I'm doing good. So we went out and had breakfast. And it is strange the way the Lord goes before you and makes the crooked places straight. So this is this restaurant is always busy. So he dropped me off because it's so hot, and I went in and I said, I'll find a table. Well, I went back and there was two booths that were empty. So I went over and sat down on one waiting for him to come. And there was some other people there around two or three tables, and they were putting chairs and stuff, and they saw me sitting by myself, and they said, you can come join us. How nice of them. I said, well, there's really two of us. I'm waiting on my sweetie, and he'll be here in a little bit. He just dropped me off. We'll bring him too. So, so when James came in, I said, honey, these people have invited us to join their table. And I got to fix this. And so I said, let's join them. So we had the best time. People out in the country are so friendly. And so anyhow, we sat down and there was the women and the men, and they were all of the same family name, Bannett. And there's a lot of Bannets in this country, and all of them are go-getters. I've heard tell of the Bannets for a long time, but I don't know any till now. There was like three or four brothers and grandchild, a grandchild girl, and the women, and there was probably about 10 of us, counting us. So we got acquainted and we sat down, and we used to go out to that restaurant when James had a house out there. Anna, he had bought a church that went out of business, that they tried to make it, and he financed them for a few years, but the pastor died, and then the daughter tried to carry it on and couldn't. So he just had to fix it up and sell it, and now it's a home, and you see motorcycles sitting out in front of it. We still look at it when we go out there. That church sitting along the side of the road. This is aggravating me. You never know what I'm going to say next because I just talked to you. So, anyhow, what a lovely bunch of people. So, I couldn't hear what they were saying. So, I just got out of my chair and I went around to the head of the table, who seemed like the head honcho of the brothers, because there was three or four brothers there. So, come to find out, he was a pastor for 50 years up in the Knobs where we used to live. He knew exactly where James lived. He knew a whole lot about James and had heard tell of him. And so anyway, he was a pastor, and he said, my son has took over my church now. He's pastoring, and they're getting ready to go to Guatemala or somewhere on a mission trip. Now, we went on one mission trip one time, me and Buddy. We went to the West Indies for 3 weeks. That was quite an experience. I kind of thought it might be a good vacation, but when we go on vacations, when we always went, I either have to have, over in the West Indies, they don't have air conditioning. And I knew it. So I said, I'm going to take me a fan because I got to have a fan in blowing in the room. And I've always had a fan, even at my house or James's house, we have a fan. But that was before James. Me and Buddy going to the West Indies, but I still like fans. And that's been a few years ago because that was about 1983. So some girl in a church up in Pennsylvania or somewhere said, I'm from the West Indies and I go to a big church over there and I've got a wonderful pastor and their church runs a little over 2,000 and I just know he would love y'all. She said, I'm going to write him and have him invite y'all. And she gave our address. And you know what? We got invited to the West Indies, to St. Vincent, to that big church. Whoopee. Because we had never been in a church that run 2,000. Heavens to Murgatroyd. So we had to get our money together because you got to get plane tickets and all that kind of stuff. And don't you know, we went to another church, and how the Lord goes before you. You know how he takes care of things. This couple came up to this, they said, we don't know why, but the Lord has spoke to our heart and told us to give you this money. And it was enough to cover our plane tickets and expenses because the church wasn't going to pay it. We had to come up with it. We didn't have to come up with it. The Lord came up with it, you know? And so they gave us the money and it was enough to buy our tickets. And so off we went to the West Indies, to St. Vincent. And over there, they don't allow guns, but they had a prison. And this came to me this morning how, when I'm talking to y'all, that ocean kind of reminds me of that big lake there that looks like an ocean. So when we went over, they said, we want to show you all around, a couple did. And we're going to take you to the prison and to the jail. And we'll do a tour. And so Buddy and I said, okay. And also, another couple went with us that were millionaires. Now, they didn't pay anything for us, but they took care of all their own expenses. And yet, those people put us up in a home. And when they showed us our room, you know what was standing there by my bed? An upright fan that could just be blowing all the time. Because I was going to take a little fan in my suitcase, and the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, don't you think I'm able to take care of that? And I said, sorry, Lord. Sorry, I know you will. I'm trusting you. So when we got there was that big fan. So this couple went with us. They were Mr. and Miss Brown, and they were very wealthy people. And she was an artist, she said. And she painted, and she gave me one of her paintings, and I looked at it, and it was like an abstract. And that was before I started painting. And I said, what lovely colors, because I just didn't, it was not that great. I try not to say anything that she might still be alive. I doubt it, though. They were older than us. Fix this. And so, anyway, I'm going to tell you the truth. So, I decided to start painting. I'll go back to the prison in a little bit. I decided to do painting, and I didn't have anything to paint on. So, hers was a big painting. So, you know what I did? I cut it in two and made it into two paintings, and I got me some uh, paint and brushes and started painting. And I loved waterfalls. And so I started painting waterfalls and scenery and stuff, and people liked them. They like scenery, not abstract so much, though I did do some abstracts. So anyway, they said we'll take you up to the prison. But I said, people kill people here. He said, yes, they do. And you know what they do with them when they don't execute them like electric chair or anything like that. He said, we hang them. And I'm going to show you the gallows. And we haven't hung anybody now, he said, in a few years, but it is still working. And if they have to, they will use it. And he showed us where they honestly hanged people. And it was a gallows, you know, and there was a drop, and they could pull it out, and, and you would be hanged. Oh my. And we took pictures, and in our travels, I lost them somewhere. And they said, don't you ever show them to anybody. But the Lord took care of it because I lost them. I didn't get to show them to anybody. But I still remember that gallows and those prisons. I said, well, how in the world do they kill each other over here when they want to murder someone? He said, we got machetes. Now that's a big, long, knife. And see, for breakfast, you know what they have for breakfast? Coconuts. So they would have a big basket full of coconuts. My phone is talking. I'm going to turn that down or get it where you can't hear it there. So anyway, my girls are talking. They're chatting this morning. Melissa, well, anyhow, they use these long machetes, and for breakfast we would have coconuts, and they they took care of us. They just chopped that, and you could just dip that white meat out of that coconut, and it was delicious. We didn't have eggs and bacon, but they had a lot of chicken, and they fixed the meals for us, and we had a lot of chicken, but we could cook. So we decided one day to make macaroni and cheese. They supplied all the food, and so me and Miss Brown, Sister Brown, that's what you call each other when you're sisters in the Lord. And I got this little sister named Debbie who is doing so good on YouTube. And I watched her video this morning, and she said she has shared everything now with her family and friends, and some are impressed and tickled, and others say, so what? But my family don't watch me much. Even James, bless his heart, don't watch me unless I say, honey, look at this, because I want to show him the pretty scenery I have in the back. And I said, look what I'm doing now. And he'll watch that way. Otherwise, he watches the news. That's husbands for you. I just watch the news with him. We're a married couple. Well, this is a pretty thing, and it's got a tassel on the bottom. See the tassel? I like it. It looks nice on it. We walked this morning and got that done. But that breakfast and meeting with all those bandits was absolutely exceptional. It's just, you know, life can be so interesting at times. And it certainly was this morning. And then I was I watched, I tuned in on Senior Insights, and she decided to do, oh, I told you, didn't I? Or did I? Well, anyway, it lasted about a minute, and her voice was nice and loud because I had difficulty hearing her, and her mics somehow or other weren't working, but it was working great for that 1 minute. Cynthia, you did good. So try again, but I'm not doing any live. She was going to do a live. If she tried, it's hard to do a live. I'm not going to do that. I just had, oh, and I wanted to tell you, I know you can't wait. James's new Skechers are doing great. Best shoes he's ever had. And you know, when you're a senior citizen, you need to take care of your feet. You know, us YouTube women, once we watch each other, a lot of us do. And I noticed that two of my friends went into a long talk on shoes the other day after we talked. Even Granny Pat got in on the shoe situation. And she told about a lot of different shoes I never heard tell of. And she knew a lot about that kind of stuff. She's been around a long time, and she's got a lot of experience in a lot of things that I didn't do because, well, she had to work and be on her feet all the time, and all I mainly see what happened was when we moved where we live now, or I live now. I'll just come here during the daytime. I needed more money to make the mortgage payment. So I decided to stay home, not go outside the home, get another job, just stay home and raise the kids. And I would babysit. And that way I could have kids and I could be home with my kids. And I was telling Kim yesterday, my baby daughter, what a rotten youngin' she was, spoiled rotten. And it so happened that I did have to work some when she was a baby before we moved here, when we was living in our other house. And I had to get a job at a restaurant, and I had to be a waitress at a truck stop. Now those truck drivers they're easy to wait on, and they did tip, and I made 75 cents an hour. But I had to leave Kim with babysitters. She would squall. You could hear her all the when she stayed with the babysitter. After I was in the car, you could hear her holler. And I told her, I said, "You was the most." I when she was, because I had to go to work when she was about 2.5. But as a baby, I I couldn't go anywhere without her. She just like Max, that dog of Debbie's that goes ever if she goes down to the horses, he's got to go with her. Well, Kim had to go with me in my lap. Back then, because she's 66 or something, they did not have restraints for babies. They had a little thing you could set them in, and it just hooked on the seat. But it was no protection. If we had wrecked, she would have been just as bad off as if she was in my lap. But I just drove with her in my lap. It kept her quiet. It worked. And she's still here. We didn't have any wrecks or anything. Of course, mainly I just drove around town and, grocery shop and stuff like that. So we're back home, and James is taking a nap, and I was thinking I wouldn't make a video today. I wasn't in the mood earlier, but I thought I'm going to tell him about this, that, and the other. And here I am talking about this, that, and the other. Let me see how long that's run. Oh my goodness. I've So I looked at my analytics. I do watch my analytics. How long do they watch? And some of them watched 9 minutes last time. So it was an improvement. And I'm looking forward to the day that Debbie starts making money and gets monetized, and she's going to work that out somehow or other because she's a smart cookie. And I've sent her, I told her she may have to get an auto pen. She's getting so famous. You know, Joe Biden had an auto pen that just signed everything and anything, and I don't know who was running it. Maybe some of you Democrats know. It wasn't a Republican. Lord help me. Be nice. I love everybody, including the Democrats. I have a brother that is a strong Democrat, and the rest of my brothers are strong Republicans, but not David. And we love David. So I call him up and talk to him, and he'll want to talk politics. And I told him, no, David, we're not talking politics because you can't argue with some people because we have closed minds. I think my mind might be as closed as David's is at times. And that's the truth because, you know, we believe what we believe and it can't be changed. And that's the way it is. And David's not going to change, but he's my brother and I love him. And in the Lord, we love everybody. Treat them nice, treat them kind, smile at them. I was listening to Old Me Living Better, and he did a video on how he has prayed for over 2,000 people in the last 5 years because he felt led of the Lord to pray for some people and to smile at them. And smiling does work. But, you know, he said, what he says to them is when he feels led of the Lord, because, you know, you follow the Holy Spirit when you're a Christian and the Holy Spirit is with you once you accept Christ. He says, when I feel led and the time is right, and he always knows when, and I have done the same thing. I have prayed for them when they requested prayer in the grocery store, wherever. But he'll say, you know, if they're looking sad or if they're looking like they got something on their mind, may I pray for you? And he said, I've only been turned down 2 times. He lives out in California and he prays for Muslims, for anybody that he feels like they need it. And only 2 people have turned him down out of, he kept count, I think, of maybe 5,000 people. I don't remember. Y'all look at that. Old Me Living Better. And I just love him. And he's a caretaker for his wife, and he is not very good about getting around, but he manages and God's with him. So he just asked him, and may I pray for you? And then when he prays for them, it's not a long time. He's not trying to win them for his church. He's not trying to win them to God. He's just praying for them. And we need to pray for one another. So he just asked God to direct their path, be with their family, and help them in their any situation they might need direction in. Because we all need help and direction sometimes from the Lord, which direction we should go. So I want to start practicing that more because so many people are so needy and they're lonely out there. And you know, the Lord is the only answer. Is Jesus is the answer, and God sent Jesus to be our helper. He died for us. I mean, he went on that cross and he was beat 39 times, and I can't hardly watch it when they have those movies on about Jesus on the cross and stuff, and I can't hardly watch it without crying because it's just too hard. It's terrible the way they treated him, and he did it for us. He said, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. But they did it. And, you know, that's another thing. Thank our soldiers and our Marines and our servicemen for their service because they put their life on the line too. They really do. My husband, number one, buddy, served 8 years, 4 years active, 4 years inactive. And he was over there on a ship. He was on board a transport ship, which moved soldiers to wherever they needed to go. But he was there during the Vietnam thing, where they were moving people from South Korea, from North Korea to South Korea aboard ship. They would rescue those that were wanting to get out of North Korea, and they took loads of them. Now I have pictures of that, where they're all those little men and women and babies and everything were escaping North Korea, and they took thousands of them out of North Korea, which is a dictatorship, into free South Korea, which is a wonderful land compared to North Korea, which is just a dictatorship. They could have freedom, and they got big churches over there, a big church where people are praying all the time. You can check that out. I don't know the name of it, but our pastor recently, they had a big pastors thing over there a few months ago, and our pastor at Evangel North went to that, and he said you could hear people praying all over and on their knees praying. John Carmichael, or my Reverend John Carmichael, who that's where James goes to church and I stream, and he told all about it, how there's such a praying place. Well, I'm going to shut up. Let me see how. Oh, I've got the 26 minutes. I'm done. It didn't turn out too bad in here, and that picture stayed. The weeping willow stayed with us, and it's lovely. And the fireplace is going, and I've got air conditioning here, and that just feels real good. So, y'all walk that path where Jesus would be pleased with you. And I love you. Bye bye. I'll see you again sometime. I don't know when. I'm getting kind of moody. Oh well, I feel good. And I hope y'all feel good. Smile at somebody. Pray for people. Let's encourage one another. Bye bye.